All right, guys. Again, the lesson overview for today, we'll do a little bit of an introduction to imports and exports, and what the purpose of imports and exports are. We'll then jump into how to import via the sales module. We won't go through every single one of the imports. We would be here for 3 days if we did. We will then show you the export process, again, from the sales module. And again, to save time, we're not going to go through all of the export processes, but we'll show you an example of that, and then give you some Q&A session near the back end of this session. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so I'm going to be in a demo domain. Now, first and foremost, what I wanted to point out is that the import and export feature is kind of mislabeled a little bit. You'll see on several modules, like the sales module that I'm currently in, the information module, information manager module, you see the import and export tool, as well as in the CRM module, you'll see an import and export tool. Well, now we've only got the export here, but export here. As well as, and most people don't know this one, but in the, oh, let's see if I've got it in this one, in this particular domain. In the shop module, we also have the option to import and export as well. Okay. Now we also have, for import and export, or at least import, we have in the admin section, we have several places where you can import as well. You can import users from the user section in the admin section, and you can import franchise locations. Okay. All of them look identical when you're talking about the import features, and there's so we'll go through one in particular in the sales module. But realize that, of course, there are several places in which you can import and export. What is the purpose of importing and export? Importing and export. Importing means I'm going to take data from an external source and put it into FranConnect. Exporting says, all right, I've got all this data in FranConnect, and I'd like to export it and use it for external purposes. So in general, that's why we would use imports and exports within FranConnect. Any questions on what the purpose of importing and exporting might be? Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so we'll move forward then. One other place, and not a lot of people really think about this, but one other place that we can export data from is from our reports pages. The reports page is an export of data. Notice that, of course, anytime I either create new report and run it, or pull our leads per month report, or any report that we have that's pre-built, we have the option to print, export as a PDF, and email. So this is another option that you have for exporting data as well. Okay, that's obviously not what we're here to cover. We're really here to cover in the modules the import page and the export page, and we're going to focus really on the sales import and export. Okay, so we're going to start with import. And what is the purpose of importing? Well, importing is again saying, all right, we're going to take this data that we have garnered from various sources. Let's talk about sales. If I was importing into sales, I might be importing a massive amount of leads that I might have got from a show that I went to. Maybe a whole bunch of people said, hey, I was in, you had a booth at a show and you had all of this data on a piece of paper, or they had them type it into a database or a spreadsheet or whatever the case may be, and you said, you know what, I want to get all of these into my sales as leads, or possibly brokers. Maybe you were importing brokers. Okay, either way, adding one or two leads or brokers or pieces of data is really not what imports are for. Imports are really saying, okay, I've got 70 leads I need to enter into the system, and it's going to suck for me to have to do this individually. Okay, importing really is meant to say, okay, I've got these 70 leads I got from the show. I want to put them all in at the exact same time. Okay, so that's really how what the function of imports is and how we go about it. So we're going to go through the process of leads, importing leads into the system. And what you'll notice is that from each import page, no matter what, you've got instructions with very detailed instructions all listed here. Okay. You also have a data sample that you can download. Depending on what you select, leads, brokers, or whatever you're importing, your download data sample link is going to give you all of the fields that can be imported into your system. So notice, of course, that this particular data sample here is an Excel spreadsheet. And this is, of course, what you're going to be kind of fashioning your particular import after. You'll notice that all of the field names are listed in the top row here. And underneath, we have the data that we plan to import into those particular fields for each one of our leads here. Okay, and it goes all the way across into all the way to brand. Okay, so what I've done is, of course, I've taken this particular download sample, and just for giggles, what I have done is I have created an individual import data sheet with just one singular lead, so we can see how this actually would work. And I've just filled in some goofy data here for our possible lead that we're going to import here. Okay. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is that it says very, very clearly that the first row of the CSV table must contain the column names. Okay. So, and you'll notice in my particular example here, and I just kind of kept every single one of the column names here, all the way across. Okay. And then I've just done a single lead. Now, of course, if I wasn't doing a single lead, would I use the import process? No, absolutely not. But for our example, I'm going to do one lead. Okay, mainly because honestly I didn't want to have to import several leads and show you all the different ones. But this is a wonderful example to kind of start with. Okay, so I've got my CSV, my comma separated value document here with all of my leads, every single one of them. Now this could be 100 leads, 200 leads, whatever you had in here. And I've got every single place filled out, every single field filled out. Now notice that, of course, if you don't fill out certain fields like cash current net worth, cash available, you're not going to get any data into those particular fields. So if they didn't actually give those to you, then of course you would not have them that particular data imported. Does that make sense? Okay. So I've got my file ready to go. And it's very important, of course, that when you create this file, you need to save as, and you need to save it as a CSV, or comma delimited format. Why? Because that's exactly what it says you have the option for: CSV file or a tab separated values file. Okay. If you choose to use a tab separated value file, which I did not, then you would select that particular option when you are specifying the file format. Since I did a CSV in an Excel and I saved it as a CSV, then of course I'm going to use that particular option. All right, so back to my file. I have saved it as a CSV, sales lead import demo, CSV, okay, and it's already saved and ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out because I've already saved it. All right, and I then simply go ahead and choose my file. I'm going to go to my desktop and find that file. It's selected the sales lead import demo.csv, and then I click on the continue button. Now from here it's going to say map all of the columns to system fields. So we have inquiry date in our sales data field. What in our data here would match up with that? Well, very straightforward. Inquiry date, inquiry date. First name, last name, last name, email, email. Now, I have mirrored my particular CSV to match the exact column names in our database, but maybe you have different names for things. Maybe you have called the best time to contact something different, or you've called the preferred mode of contact, preferred contact, or something like that. The point of this particular area is to say, okay, this is what's in my CSV, my file that I'm trying to upload it. Where do I want to put said data? So I have to go through each one, and I want to select exactly each one of those particular fields. Notice address 1 here is actually called address in our particular database. Okay, so you may have some differences in the names of things that you need to say, okay, this data maps up with this particular data within our system. And if you've changed the names in your database at all, then of course you're going to see that those names will be different in your drop down here. And it's very important, of course, that you make sure that you map appropriately here. Notice that EXT is actually work phone extension here. Home phone extension. So you'll notice, see how there's just differing things in here that they are pretty close, but you want to make sure that you know your data and where it's going to be going. So I'm going to map all of these different fields. Give me just a second to get through that. Oh, come on, where's that? Details. Assign to. Net worth. So I'm just going through each one of these and making sure that I have every single thing selected for us. Okay. Now, default value for fields. Okay, and notice down at the bottom, it says exactly default values will be selected if these fields are not provided from CSV. Okay, so things like lead owner. Okay, if there was one that didn't have a lead owner, that is definitely one thing that has to be provided in our lead. Notice that, of course, in the lead owner, I have all of my selections of leads here. So if I wanted to make sure, no matter what, if I didn't put in a lead owner within my demo here, that it went to, let's just say, we'll go with a student one. How about that? Or if I didn't want it to go to lead owner a student one, I could say nope. I want it to go based on my assignment rules within my section here. Okay, so either way, I could say, okay, I want it to always go to this particular lead owner if I didn't specify in my CSV, or base it on the assignment rules. Same thing with my lead status. Same thing with my lead category. And my lead source details. Okay, so this is just basically saying if if these particular required fields are not in there, make sure that we go to these particular areas. We put in this inquiry date, base it on the assignment rules. We put it in new lead status, advertisement, Frank Connect magazine for lead source details. Okay. If you already have all of that information in your particular CSV, it will not put these guys in that particular area. Okay. Notice, of course, there's a disclaimer that you must select here. Canadian leads will not be included in the mailing list until an opt-in request is sent to the leads and their confirmation is received. If I try to continue without making that selection, that's going to say you got to select the disclaimer so that we know that Canadian leads will be gone in that route. Okay, and then we click on continue. It's going to give me a quick upload lead details to preview and confirm the mapping. And then I click continue one more time after I've reviewed everything. And I click on continue. It's going to take a couple of seconds to upload that, and then it's going to give you the import status. We had one record's read. One record was successfully uploaded. And we had one record read, one record successfully imported. If we want to make sure that that particular lead went in, I could go into my lead management and I could take a look at, there's my lead right off the top of that there. And boom, Albert John was already added into the system. Now, of course, again, if it's a one-time source or one-time one thing or one lead getting inputted, not a great idea to do it this way. But you could see if you had 50, 100 different leads that you need to get into the system, you'd really want to create that CSV and have all of them uploaded at the exact same time. questions on the import process. And again, note that every import process, whether we're looking at within sales, or if we go to Info Manager, I go to import. Note that, of course, everything has the exact same setup. You might just be doing various things. Lori says, what if you had a lead that was already in the system? You're going to want to double check for duplicate leads, because honestly, duplicate leads can happen when you run through the import process. So you got to be careful with that. And if you end up having a duplicate lead, you're going to want to double check on that. Okay. I don't believe that the system checks for duplicates when you do an import. When you're running a duplicate, or when you're adding a lead manually, there is obviously one of those. And I'm hearing that there is a duplicate check on there, but I've honestly never seen that occur. So there should be a duplicate check on the bottom, though, from what Kelly is saying from DKI. Thank you, Kelly. Other question? All right. Well, that covers our import process. And again, you can do that in several different places in the system. We did a very simple import with one record. Next, let's talk about exporting. Okay, exporting is taking data from FranConnect and utilizing it for your use outside of the FranConnect system. And as I said, the simplest way of exporting is frankly to use your Reports tab here, or Reports tab, and use any of these pre-built reports or create a custom report. That is one way of actually exporting data. A lot of people don't think of the report section as exporting data, but it really is exporting data. Okay. The other way, of course, is within the sales, the Info Manager, the CRM, you have the export as well. And in order to export, you simply go to the export page. From here, you're going to select the tabs that you want to export from. So if I wanted to export everything, I could export everything. But if I didn't want to export everything, I just wanted some stuff from primary information. Maybe I wanted the activity history all the way across. I could do so. Or maybe I don't want all that stuff. I just want the primary information and the different qualification details of this person. Okay. Whatever the case may be, you need to select the tabs where the data that you want to export is located. This really is important for you to know where your data is. Okay. Once I've selected my tab, I'm going to click on Search Data, and it's going to push me to number 2, Enter Search Criteria. So, what data do you want to export? What date range? Maybe you have a specific city or state that all of this criteria, search criteria, that you want to go from. Let's just say that I want to go from, let's go for this whole month of leads that have come in. Okay. Now I'm going to go from 5/1 to current. All right. Now I have several other details that I could use my search criteria for. Okay. But I'm just going to go very, very simple, very simple, and say I want from 5/1 to 5/19 everything in those particular areas. Okay. Again, tons and tons of things that you could further limit your search on here, all the way down. And again, these vary depending on which export you're exporting from, which module you're exporting from. I am going to make it very simple, and the only search criteria that I'm going to give the system is I want everything from 5/1 to 5/19, everything that we've done this month so far. But we can be very, 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 very detailed. Notice down at the bottom, if that's all we need to limit it by, we have 3 options to export as XML, export as CSV, and export as Excel. Or we can go one further and select fields. So if we don't want everything in those 2 tabs, we can select the specific fields in there. Or if we wanted to do a quick view of the data, I could click on my view data situation here, and it's going to show me what's happened in the system for that month. So it's kind of like a preview of the data. Okay, but I'm going to even be more specific, and I'm going to go ahead and select fields, which is step 3. I'm going to say I want all of the primary information, and I want all of my qualification details. Oh, no, I don't want all my qualification. I just want the date submission, the date, the name, the last name, and the how many years they were at this address in the email. That's what I want from qualification. I also want to know all of my credit lines details as well. And again, from here, I'm going to have my 3 options here to actually export this data. Or now I can do a view, again, of seeing all of the data that I was going to get in this particular export. Okay. I then have the option to now pick the format as to where I want that to come out as. I'm going to do an XML if that's an option for me. XML is coding, basically. I can export it as a CSV, comma separated value. Or most likely you're going to be pulling it as an Excel spreadsheet. Nope, I went and pulled them out of there. So, name last and email. I'm going to use this address and all the credit line stuff. And then, of course, I'm going to click on the export as Excel. And notice our export data pops up for us. Let's see if I can get it to pop up for us here. Oops. Try again. Export as Excel. Come on. Well, let's try and pull it out as a CSV then, because it's not like in the Excel spreadsheet. There we go. Let's see if I can grab it that way and show you what the data will look like. There we go. And all of our data here would be exported. That's definitely not what I was hoping for. Let's try and pull a little bit less data. Maybe that's where our problem is at. Well then, let's try CSV again. Let's see what I get. Either way, you would be able to get something similar to this, but in an Excel or Excel spreadsheet for you to be able to download and play with. Okay? See if from here I can go ahead and do that. Let's see what happens. Might be too much data is what it's saying. Yep, that's what's happening. I'm trying to export too much data. Let's go back, and I will limit it even more so. I'll go into my search criteria. And I'll just put in my dates. Oh, that's why it did not hold the dates. So we're just going to pull a little bit of data so that it actually lets me have it. Interesting. Either way, what you should get back, of course, would be something similar to this in an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV. Not sure exactly what's going on. It might be my Excel spreadsheet, or my Excel needs to be updated. We'll see. Any questions on exporting data out of the system and how it would be used? Okay. Guys, thank you, Kelly. She's got some wonderful tips that we're going to throw into the idea portal. But Either way, I want to thank you for your time. I am happy to unmute various lines. If you have any questions, you can either put them in the chat box. Otherwise, I'm going to give you back, about 27 minutes of your time. I will hang out, though, until the last question is asked and or answered. Again, my name is Frank Menger, and I want to thank you for taking the time to be with me today. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Looks like we just got a couple left on the call, so Monica, you're the last one, so I'm going to stop the recording.